What's going on, everybody? Back at it here with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I reveal to you my New York Football Giants 2023 mock draft 1.0. Really appreciate everybody's support throughout the offseason and through this process of putting out all these film breakdowns and reviews. We really appreciate you all that have commented, liked, and shared the videos with your family and friends. And a friendly neighborhood reminder, if you're new, tuning in for the first time, please check us out on all of our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. One thing with the NFL draft every year that I stress to all fans, try not to fall in love with too many prospects. More often than not, your team will not get the prospect that you like. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. The best way to identify what prospects are going to go to a certain team, you want to look at certain things. Who fits schematically? What are positions of need? Where are the Giants picking in certain rounds? Who are their top 30 visits? What players on the roster have expiring contracts coming up that they could use depth at? These are all things to consider when putting together a mock draft. So I put this together accordingly, and everything that Joe Schoen has said this offseason in his pressers and talks with the media. So without further ado, I present to you my New York Football Giants 7-round mock draft. So we have 10 picks in this year's draft, unless we make any trades, of course, on draft night. By the way, I'm filming this the morning of the draft. That's how busy it's been. Was up till about 4 a.m. last night going over prospects. Back at it here at 8 o'clock in the morning, putting this out for you guys. So really appreciate you all watching. First round, we pick number 25. Now, there's a couple of ways this can go. It depends how the board falls, right? Two positions of need that are obvious are wide receiver and corner. The Giants have a lot of wide receivers on their roster, but majority of them are only under contract for 1 year. This includes Sterling Shepard. This includes Paris Campbell, who they brought in. And you want to look towards the future as well, right? Corner, Adoree Jackson may not get extended on the last year of his deal. Darnay Holmes is on a contract year. Aaron Robinson's had some injury issues. Cordell Flott is nice, but you need more than that. So realistically speaking, I'm not so sure what the Giants are going to do. Center is a huge need. They lost Nick Gates and John Feliciano both via NFL free agency. They could look to bolster the linebacking corps. Despite the addition of Bobby Okereke, Darian Beavers is coming off a season-ending injury that shortened his rookie year. Completely eliminated it, actually. Micah McFadden was hot and cold his rookie season. You hope he improves, but you want more depth outside of those three at the linebacker position. I think it's likely the Giants pick a linebacker in round 7. You have Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown both coming up on contract years, so we'll see. There's a lot to consider. There really is. But ultimately, at 25 overall, it came down to two players at two positions. At wide receiver, Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers, and then at corner, Deonte Banks and Emmanuel Forbes. Ultimately, I think there's going to be more receivers available at this point than corners. I don't think Deonte Banks will be available at 25. I think 25 might be a little bit too high for Emmanuel Forbes, and I broke it down to Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison. I have a gut feeling that the Los Angeles Chargers might take a wide receiver, and if they do, I think it will be Zay Flowers, which would leave the Giants with Jordan Addison. Also, there's a chance the Giants may trade up at a 25 for Jordan Addison. They do have 10 draft picks, so there is capital to do this. So I have the Giants taking Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC at number 25 overall. Played with Caleb Williams this past season and Kenny Pickett his 2 previous seasons at Pittsburgh. Yes, he was a transfer from the Pitt Panthers to USC. He dominated as a Pitt Panther. Really good hands. They're like glue. He's quick. Not a whole lot of body strength, but I think he would fit in, and he has the best chance to become bona fide number 1 wide receiver. But let's say him and Flowers aren't there. You don't force your hand at 25 and try to throw a dart at a draft board and select your number 1 receiver, because that's all the Giants are missing, a true number 1 wide receiver. They have a bunch of 2s and 3s and 4s. Great. Maybe Isaiah Hodgins develops into that guy. That would be awesome. Darius Slayton is back. But ultimately, you want to continue to build this room and help out Daniel Jones and Jordan Addison. I think, if available at 25, is the selection. He was also a top 30 visit. Round 2, this is interesting. We're picking 57th overall. I'm not so sure where the Giants go here. They could address the linebacker position, but I think guys like Drew Sanders and Jack Campbell will be off the board at this point. I think Jack Campbell goes in the back end of the first round, and I think Drew Sanders is gone early second. So it leaves me wondering, well, maybe we shouldn't go linebacker here. Again, you don't want to force your hand just because it's a position of need. A lot of teams make that mistake, right? You have, let's say, 1 and 1A, and let's say if 1A goes, then you're like, oh, let's just take 1B at that position. That's not always the best way to draft. In this scenario, I'm starting to think, all right, let's take a look at what the Giants really struggled at last year, right? Stopping the run. They couldn't stop the run. So if you can't draft a linebacker in round 2, what's the next best thing to draft? A defensive lineman up front. You have Leonard Williams, last year of his deal, big cap hit. Maybe they extend him. I don't know. The contract talks with Dexter Lawrence, that's all great. DJ Davidson coming off a season-ending injury after a few games into his rookie year. They signed Raheem Nunez-Roches and Ashawn Robinson, who's only here on a one-year deal. So you want to get depth on this defensive line, and that's why I have the Giants selecting, this might shock some people, Gervon Dexter out of Florida. I believe it's Gervon Dexter Sr., but I'm not entirely sure. A little interesting to see a guy who's heading into the NFL potentially having a kid already, we know. So I wasn't 100% sure if that was accurate. So Gervon Dexter is my pick, defensive tackle out of Florida. He was in for a top 30 visit. Excellent run stuffer. He's a big dude at 6'6", 313 pounds, a senior. 55 tackles, 2 sacks. He also had a pick this year as well. I think he could be a really good guy who can start on the line if you want to put him in potentially in the middle and flush Dexter out to the 3 tech again, like he played his first 2 seasons, although Dexter really excelled at the nose tackle position last season. Overall, I think Gervon Dexter would be a solid selection here, and I'm not opposed to any sort of depth, and I think this would be a great selection for the New York Giants. So we have a first-round receiver that can play day one. We have a second-round defensive tackle that fills a void and a need. Again, you have, if you want to beat teams like the Cowboys and Eagles, you have to stop the run. The Giants couldn't do it in the playoffs I know Sanders isn't on the team anymore, but between him, between Jalen Hurts, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, these are all guys you have to account for. And who knows what the Eagles do in the draft? Who knows what the Cowboys do in the draft, despite losing Zeke Elliott? You want to be able to stop the run. It's been a strength for the Giants for a long time, but over the past year or two, it's been a weakness. Gervon Dexter is my pick. Next up, third round, still at positional need here. I didn't see the corner value matching up in round 2 very much. I see it matching here in round 3. I have the Giants selecting at number 89 overall, Darius Rush, cornerback out of South Carolina. Another top 30 visit guy, 6'2". He has good size, 200 pounds, a senior. He played opposite of Cam Smith for the Gamecocks, and he's really good length, plays in press man, would fit Wink Martindale's scheme beautifully. The Giants have pretty much an open competition as to who's going to start opposite of Adoree Jackson next season. The one weakness of Rush, he gives a little bit of ground up when chasing vertical routes. You want to avoid that. But this past season at South Carolina had 38 tackles, a forced fumble, 2 picks, and 7 passes defended. I think this would be a great pick and a potential week 1 starter if he impresses in camp. And the ability to compete with guys like Aaron Robinson and Cordell Flott is awesome. So I think Darius Rush would be an excellent boundary corner. And if Adoree Jackson walks next year after his contract is up, and Rush plays well, you could say, we filled a position of need. We have him on a rookie deal. We have Cordell Flott, who's a year older next year. And the Giants are looking a little bit better at the cornerback position because they addressed it early in the 2023 NFL draft on day 2. So that's why I have Darius Rush going in the 3rd round. Next up, so there's people are probably kicking me. They're saying, Tom, why haven't you drafted a center yet? Relax. It's happening here in round number 4. I never want to force my hand with a center position. I don't. I don't think John Michael Schmitz is valued at either 25. He'll be gone by 57. I am not a fan of Ricky Stromberg. I'm indifferent about Joe Tippmann. He could be there at 57 or 89, but I ultimately don't think they go with him. Um, Luke Whippler, I'm not. I haven't watched too much film on him. He could be a guy, but we all know Joe Shane is a big Notre Dame fan, right? And this is a sneaky guy who played his last 5 years at Notre Dame, 4 years as a center, 1 year as a left guard. I have the Giants going out and drafting Notre Dame center Jarrett Patterson, a captain of the team. I mentioned 5 years with the Irish, 4 years at center, this past year at left guard where he kicked out. He gave up 0 sacks throughout his entire collegiate career, starting for 4 of those 5 years. 1,688 pass block snaps, and 0 sacks allowed. Really good with his feet. He's strong. He's not the most athletic offensive lineman, but he gets the job done. You don't need the best athlete on the interior offensive line in the NFL, and people don't necessarily view the center or interior offensive line position as a premium position in this league. So why would you go ahead and reach in day two when the value doesn't match up? We all know the Giants are not taking a center in round one. In round two, we don't know who's going to be there still. After John Michael Schmitz, there's a drop-off. It's Luke Whippler. It's Joe Tippmann. Then you have Ricky Stromberg. I don't think either of those guys are going to Big Blue. I think Jarrett Patterson is a beautiful fit for the Giants. This is a guy who was supposed to come out after last season. He elected not to. He was projected to go back end of the first round, but he came back and played left guard, and a lot of people forgot about him a little bit. So I think he could be a really good sneaky pick to open up day three for the Giants, and that is my prediction. Next up, round 5 at number 160. So far we've addressed wide receiver, defensive tackle, corner, and center. So we've addressed positional needs. We've added some depth on the roster, 2 offense, 2 defense guys so far. And ultimately, I don't think the Giants are going to focus on one area of the field specifically throughout the course of this entire draft. I think they're looking for the best players available that fit their scheme. And at round 5, 160 overall, I have them selecting an older player who's 23, Louisville edge rusher Yaya Diaby. And I think it's interesting, right? They brought Jihad Ward back on a 1-year deal. Azeez Ojulari has injury issues. He's entering his 3rd season. Kayvon Thibodeau was there. I'm not a big fan of Ellerson Smith. I don't think he'll be anything much more than special teams by this point. Plus, he's always hurt too. Tamon Fox is promising, but you can't bank on that. Add depth with Yaya Diaby. The first few games last season, they started Jihad Ward and O'Shane Zimenez. Not good enough. I love Jihad Ward, but O'Shane Zimenez is not coming back. He's not on the team anymore. Yaya Diaby is an awesome pick. 37 tackles, had 9 sacks this year for the Cardinals. 2 fumble recoveries, 2 passes defended. 6'3", 253 pounds. Senior, strong hands, clear eyes at the point of attack. His run approach definitely needs more skill, but he can definitely rush the passer and do it well for a guy his size. So I think Yaya Diaby will be the pick, adding more depth to this team in their first of 2 fifth-round picks. Next up at number 172, I thought about Payne Durham at tight end. I don't know if he'll still be there. I think he might go as early as round 4. Again, I'm not so sure the Giants draft a tight end in this draft. A lot of people are thinking they have to, but, I mean, you just traded for Darren Waller. You have Daniel Bellinger. You signed Tommy Sweeney from the Buffalo Bills. You have Chris Myrick and Lawrence Cager both still on the roster. I think the Giants are quite fine at the tight end position. I don't think they need to draft one. If they do, cool. More competition. But I don't. That's a little spoiler. But at 172, what they do need is a running back because Barkley, we don't know what the situation is with him. He will likely sign a long-term extension at some point. But after him, they brought Matt Breida back on a short-term deal, and you have Gary Brightwell, who is nothing more than a special teams player. So I have the Giants selecting Tyjae Spears, running back out of Tulane. I like this kid a lot. Now, he's had some injury history, but he's 5'10", 200 pounds, redshirt junior, a good build. He averaged 7 yards per carry over his entire Tulane career. This past season had 21 total touchdowns, nearly 1,600 rushing yards, and 19 touchdowns on the ground. Really good blend of running. His hands are slippery. Unsure as a pass catcher, but he's definitely good at running the rock, and I think he could be a solid spell running back for Saquon Barkley and learn a bit from Matt Breida and Barkley as well. So I think it fills a position of need. The Giants could use a running back 2, running back 3 this season. And I think it's a good depth piece. And who knows, Tyjae Spears, he could pull something. Hey, maybe he turns into Elijah Mitchell, what he was for the 49ers his rookie season, starting in the NFC Championship game. Who knows? But we'll see. Moving on, round 6, the Giants have just one pick. This is from the Kansas City Chiefs in the trade for Kadarius Toney. The Giants needed a developmental quarterback, and I think they do it here. They brought in Clayton Tune for a visit, but at this point, I don't think he's available. I don't think the Giants will draft a quarterback that early. I think they wait until round 5 or round 6. And one guy who I think will still be on the board, yes, he started the national championship game. It's not Stetson Bennett. It's Max Duggan out of TCU. I think the Giants go with him at number 209 for Max Duggan. 6'1", 207, a senior, has great physical and mental toughness. 4.52 40-yard dash, 28 career rushing touchdowns, so he's mobile. He could throw the deep ball. He played really good with his receivers this season, Quentin Johnson, Darius Davis, made them look really good. I mean, they're both great players, but Duggan just added to it. They blew out Michigan in the college football playoff, which was impressive. And I think the one issue that I have with Duggan is he stares down receivers a little bit too long, and maybe his size. But then again, size isn't much of a factor as it used to be at the quarterback position with the mobility of the game changing. So I think Duggan is a solid selection for the Giants in the 6th round. Next up, the Giants have 3 7th-round picks. The first one is from Baltimore at number 240. And I have the Giants up. I just gave it away. I didn't want to click it just yet, but I did. They finally draft a linebacker selecting Bumper Pool. Love that name, linebacker out of Arkansas, but it's not the name, not the reason why I drafted him. 6'2", 232, senior, 92 tackles this season, 2 sacks and 3 passes defended. Spent 5 years with the Hogs, had over 100 tackles in 2021 and 2020, came awfully close again this year. So you have 3 back-to-back-to-back seasons with nearly 100 tackles or more. That's something that has to be taken note of. He drops into zone well, reads the quarterback well. He did play in Drew Sanders' shadow just a little bit. He gets pushed around at the point of attack sometimes, but I think Bumper Pool, 7th-round pick. I mean, what more could you ask? If he's still on the board, you're taking Bumper Pool. I like him a lot, and it adds more depth at the linebacker position. So we didn't get another starting linebacker, which is what some people might have hoped, but I'm confident that the Giants have a lot of faith in Darian Beavers and Micah McFadden to rotate for that off-ball Mike linebacker in 2023. Up next, 2nd, 7th-round pick. This is 243 overall. This one is the Giants' own. I'm going with Trey Hawkins III, a versatile corner safety from Old Dominion. He's a really good player. He's big. He's 6'3", 195, senior. 6 passes defended along with 2 picks and 44 tackles. I like him a lot. They brought him in for a top 30 visit. You get more depth in the secondary. This will be the 2nd corner the Giants have selected in this draft. We know the Giants lost Julian Love via free agency, so the versatility is good. Love was a cornerback at Notre Dame and converted over to a safety. Trey Hawkins III, hey, low risk, high reward, right? The Giants say, hey, well, we brought in Bobby McCain. We have Dane Belton. Let them duke it out for the starting spot next to Xavier McKinney. But you still want to upgrade your roster. Maybe they think, oh, Trey Hawkins III might be able to compete with Jason Pinnock for a roster spot. That's something you have to consider. And with the 10th and final pick of the draft, I have the Giants selecting a 2nd wide receiver. So I bypassed on tight end altogether in this draft. I have the Giants selecting Jalen Wayne at 254 overall out of South Alabama. Also a tall receiver at 6'2", 207, redshirt senior. Again, I know Dable and Kafka aren't looking at the height of these receivers, and neither am I. I'm looking at who I think could best fit the Giants. Wayne, experienced player, 6 years of college football, was a medical redshirt in 2018. This past season, had 9 touchdown receptions, over 800 yards on 58 catches. If this guy falls this late at 254, I think you snag him up, have him compete for a roster spot, maybe play some special teams. He doesn't run too many routes. He lacks top-end speed, which is why I think he falls this far. He did not play at a big-name school in South Alabama, so I think Jalen Wayne rounds out the Giants' 2023 NFL draft class. Quick reminder, shout out to our sponsor, BetUS. if you enjoy this episode and if you enjoyed a sports bet, sign up with them. You can sign up with our promo code at join125, get a 125% sign up bonus where you can bet on the go anywhere, anytime. That's BetUS, America's #1 favorite sports book, where the game begins. This was our New York Giants 7-round mock draft. We went Jordan Addison at 25 overall, the receiver out of USC. Gervon Dexter, defensive tackle out of Florida in round number 2. Third round, we went Darius Rush, the corner out of South Carolina. Fourth round, we took a center, Jarrett Patterson out of Notre Dame. Fifth round, we took Yaya Diaby, the edge rusher out of Louisville. Our second fifth-round pick, we took Tyjae Spears, the running back out of Tulane. Sixth round, Max Duggan, quarterback out of TCU. Our first of 3 seventh-round picks went to Bumper Pool, linebacker out of Arkansas. Second seventh-round pick, Trey Hawkins III, the corner/safety from Old Dominion. And to round out this draft class, Jalen Wayne, the wide receiver out of South Alabama. Folks, hope you all enjoyed this mock draft. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications. Give us a thumbs up. We appreciate you all. Share this video with your friends, family. Hope you all enjoyed my content leading up to the NFL draft this season. We really try our best every year to engage with the fans, make you guys happy, give you the content that you need to be best prepared for the NFL draft. And I'm always learning from the fans as well every single day. So I appreciate you all. I'm looking forward to seeing you on draft night. Without further ado, let's go Big Blue.